This is Smithy.tv.
Okay, so I'm here with Peter Dixon at Paradise Comics, located at 3278 Yonge Street in the north part of Toronto. Peter, you and I have known each other for about 3 years now.
Yep.
And I remember the day I came into Paradise Comics. I was here to buy some bags and boards for a comic collection that I'd found in someone's attic, and I was, basically trying to relive my youth. And you guys were telling me, like, Pat, it's a crazy hobby. You're going to get addicted, and you're going to want to buy all these great books. And I was like, no, I'm not really into it. I'm just looking for something to do. And here I am 3 years later. I've got this vast collection that I've accumulated thanks to you guys. And, the wonderful thing about Paradise Comics is that camaraderie that you have with your customers. You guys really do make an effort to welcome everybody, no matter if they're looking to buy a $5,000 comic book or just a $5 comic book. You are pretty much living the dream of every young guy who wanted to have a comic book store as a kid. What made you make that decision to go from having just a hobby to actually making this your livelihood?
Yeah, well, I'm very lucky. I get to be a kid all day long. It's actually kind of interesting the way I kind of started the store. I bought it off a friend, but I'd taken a few years off between high school and university. Then going back to university, I had to move back home, and it's amazing how supportive your parents are if you tell them that you can open a store and not bring home 40 long boxes that weigh 60 pounds each. They were very supportive that way.
Now, what has happened since you bought the store? Has it, sort of turned your hobby into more of a business aspect and has taken away from your joy of the hobby, or has the business provided opportunities that you could never have imagined having because now this is your livelihood?
Exactly. Well, it's definitely helped. I've enjoyed it a lot more. You realize some of the books that you thought were super rare at one point aren't nearly as rare as they are, but there's always the thrill of the hunt. I never know what might come through the door today or tomorrow. And I've had some fantastic collections come in. I've had some really interesting covers come in. So you know what, I like to do some of the more golden age and some earlier books. So it's kind of fun trying to find those books as well.
And you've actually have had the opportunity to meet some pretty amazing people in the industry.
Yeah, I'm pretty spoiled that way. We do a lot of shows in the States. We get to do signings with Stan Lee and Bendis and a bunch of people. So there's always something's going on. So I keep remembering when people go, "Oh, you got to see this guy and this guy and this guy." Just how lucky I actually am.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I thought that the late '80s, early '90s was going to be almost the demise of comic books. Did you think there was a sort of this dark period of the comic book hobby that almost failed, or is it just my perception? Did you think that there was a time period that was pretty...
Yeah, the mid-90s were definitely a little slower. Like in the 80s, there was the big boom of all the companies coming in and Image coming in, and everything was a #1, and everyone bought 50 copies for an investment. That since slowed down, and all the covers were hologram covers or large-breasted women covers and stuff. So now the comics companies actually realize that they've got to tell stories again, which has really helped with the graphic novels and stuff to reprint them. So people are actually buying books to read and enjoy instead of investment for the modern ones.
And would you say that what percentage of customers that come into your store are, let's say, 15 or younger?
There's a pretty good mix as well. We do get a lot of, we're getting more father-son team and father-daughter teams and stuff. So there's a good chunk of people that are 15 and under. Probably like 30% of them come in, buy their weekly books. $5, $10, $20 they'll spend, or they'll go through our quarter bins as well. And then we got people who are in their 40s and 50s and 60s buying books as well, either new books or investment books.
And would you agree or disagree or confirm that basically the Hollywood film industry has sort of brought back this sort of hobby or this whole superhero fantasy world to a level that it's never seen for decades?
Definitely. When you and I were kids, you didn't really brag in high school that you were collecting comic books. Right. Now with all the movies and Captain America 2 doing so well and all the Avengers and Batman and whatnot, it's much more mainstream. It's popular. It's cool to buy comic books and to enjoy them. And we're getting a lot more females in the industry as well, reading stuff. There's a lot of Vertigo titles like Fables and whatnot, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which are bringing in the ladies as well. So it's definitely become a much more mainstream hobby for sure.
And I think the graphic novels do very well for you guys as well. People can have that whole entire, let's say, series or a year's run in one graphic novel that they can...
Exactly, yeah. Like if you're buying Walking Dead, which is probably like the most popular title right now, especially for the graphic novels, #1 can run you $2,000 in high grade. So, you can buy the first 6 issues in a graphic novel for $15 and you get to read the story and you get to enjoy it. So the graphic novels, it's been increasing for the last 5 years. They're pretty much on par with our new books, just on volume of sales.
What has changed mostly, do you think, in terms of the design of the comic books over the last 20 years that is still stimulating young people today?
Well, there's much more like story arcs, and as I said, with the reprinting of the comics into the graphic novels, it allows people to go back and buy them and actually get the whole storyline, where a lot of times 20 years ago, when there weren't really the graphic novels on it, if you had to search out the comic book, which could be expensive or almost impossible to find. So now people can sit down and read a story, they get the whole story arc, and then they can continue along as it's coming out as well.
Okay. And for those who are watching who may have that long box in their attic or in their crawl space or whatever, who don't know what they have, don't know the value of it, do you recommend them bringing them to your store if they want to get an assessment done?
Exactly, yeah. We're always buying, I buy probably, between 5 and 15 collections a week, anywhere from a couple books to boxes and boxes of them. So the best thing to do is phone first, just get a general idea of, what the cover price is on the books. That'll give me a good idea what kind of time frame they're from, and then we can kind of get an idea what kind of titles they are and what kind of value you might have there.
And they can get all that information, contact information on your website?
Yep, ParadiseComics.com, get our address and phone number for sure.
Perfect. Well, thanks a lot, Peter. Looking forward to future business with you, and much success. I hope that the renovation goes really, really well. It should be breaking ground soon.
We'll be breaking ground in June. We've finally got everything ready to go.
Excellent. Yeah. Congrats, buddy. We'll see you soon, and we'll see you later. Cheers.